TV footage shows a black SUV carrying the local mayor pulling into a petrol station just after 6 a.m. when an attacker fired an RPG from across the street. Another gunman armed with an assault rifle also opened fire.
Everybody saw the footage. A man standing in the middle of a Philippine street, broad daylight, firing an RPG. And the second I saw it, my stomach dropped. Because I've seen this scene before. It didn't look like travel gone wrong. That didn't look like rare crime. That looked like a dusty Iraqi street. The kind of moment where your brain doesn't rationalize. It reacts. And the first question that hits isn't political. It isn't analytical. It's simple. Am I safe here? If I come here, am I safe? If I stay here, am I safe? If I build a life here, am I safe? Because when something like this happens out in the open, in the middle of the day, it forces every Western man watching to pause. Not as a tourist, not as a viewer, as a man responsible for his own life. And here's where most people get this wrong. They think danger looks like that moment, explosive, obvious, violent. But that's not what actually ruins men overseas. That footage grabs attention, yeah, but it distracts you from the real risk. So before you decide whether the Philippines is dangerous, you need to understand what danger actually looks like here. The clip shows a real incident. In January 2026, a local mayor in Sharif Aguak, Maguindanao del Sur was targeted in a political ambush. An attacker fired an RPG at his armored vehicle while it was moving through a public road. The vehicle was damaged. Members of his security detail were injured, and the mayor, he survived. Police identified the attack as politically motivated, tied long-standing local rivalries and power disputes in the region of southern Mindanao. This area has been flagged for years due to armed groups, political violence, and clan feuds. It's not a tourist destination. It is not a representation of everyday life for foreigners elsewhere in the country. One event doesn't define a country. Context defines risk. Now let's get practical. When Westerners ask, is the Philippines dangerous? They talk like it's one giant neighborhood. It's not. The risk is regional. And the simplest way to understand that is look at what Western governments tell their own citizens. The U.S. Department of State lists the Philippines as a level 2 exercise increased caution. That carves out the don't go zones, including the Sulu Archipelago and Marawi City. The UK Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office goes one step harder on the map side. It advises against all travel to Western and Central Mindanao and the Sulu Archipelago and against all but essential travel to the remainder of Mindanao, with a few island exceptions. Smart Traveler says the same pattern. Higher caution overall, then a do not travel for Central Western Mindanao, including Zamboanga Peninsula, the Zulu Archipelago, and the southern Zulu Sea area. And safe travel mirrors that do not travel footprint in the same areas. So no, the entire Philippines isn't unsafe. But yes, there are parts of the country where the risk profile is completely different. And that's not debate, that's published guidance. Here's the part a lot of guys mess up. They land in Manila, Makati, BGC, Cebu, Bohol, Palawan, normal spots. And they start acting like that means the whole country is the same. They get curious. They chase a story. They chase a deal. They chase a person. They follow the wrong lead into the wrong area. That's where the problems start. Not from being a foreigner, from moving like the rules don't apply. So the real question isn't, is the Philippines dangerous? The real question is, are you moving smart or are you moving entitled? Danger isn't everywhere. It's predictable if you respect the map. And before you get comfortable, I'm going to show you how guys still get cooked even in safe places. Not by the streets, but by their own decisions. And this is where a lot of Western men get it twisted. They land overseas and still think the rules from back home protect them. Nothing can happen to me. I'm an American. I'm good. That mindset gets men hurt. Look at what happened to Elliot Eastman. He was an American YouTuber living in Sabugo, Zamboanga del Norte, southern Philippines. On October 17th, 2024, 4 armed men posing as police showed up at his home. He resisted, they shot him, and reports say it hit him in the leg and the abdomen. Then they dragged him out and forced him into a boat headed toward the Salou Sea. No movie scene, no warning shot, real life, fast. And by December 2024, Philippine police said they believed he likely died from his wounds during the abduction, and with his body believed to be thrown into the sea. Here's what guys need to understand. That passport isn't bulletproof. Your skin color isn't bulletproof. And that it can't be me attitude definitely isn't bulletproof. Overseas, you don't get special armor, you get consequences. And that leads to my next truth, the one that most men don't police hard enough. Your safety isn't about the country. It's about your decisions inside that country. The quickest way to get cooked overseas is thinking you're untouchable. A lot of Western men mess this part up. They flash that American passport or a Western passport in general, and all of a sudden they grow a cape. Now they're untouchable. Now they're bulletproof. And sure, let's be honest, that passport can get you access. It can open doors. It can smooth over some situations. But it does not protect you. It doesn't protect you from bad people. It doesn't protect you from bad decisions. And it definitely doesn't protect you once you cross the border. Because the moment you have to leave the United States, the UK, Australia, those rules you're used to, those rights you think you have, they stop applying. You're in a different country now, and you're playing by their rules, not yours. And this is where your ego gets men hurt. Guys start flexing, talking loud, showing money, moving sloppy, stuff we wouldn't even do back home. You don't go into the hood in the U.S. flashing cash around broke people. And if you did, you already know how that ends. So what makes you think that's smart overseas? That's how you get eyes on you. That's how you turn yourself into a target. And that's how someone starts thinking, yeah, I could take advantage of this guy. Now listen, you shouldn't have to move quieter. You shouldn't have to tone it down. But smart men deal with reality, not how things should be. This is how the world works. And what gets most guys isn't one big mistake. It's small ones stacking up. You get comfortable. You get familiar. You let discipline slide. And once discipline is gone, you expose yourself. That's when problems start, not because of the country, but because of how you chose to move inside it. Your passport opens doors, your discipline keeps you alive. And once discipline slips, the next mistake isn't about where you go. It's about who you trust. And this is where it gets dicey, because most of the real damage doesn't come from the streets. It comes from the door you open when you let the wrong people into your life. That's true anywhere in the world. The wrong person gets close to you and they can absolutely destroy you. This is how men lose their freedom. This is how men lose their retirements. This is how guys watch everything they built disappear. Not overnight, slowly. And yes, I'll say it plainly. Choosing the wrong woman can do that, just like it can back home. This isn't about nationality. This isn't about judgment. Because once you start trusting the wrong person, you start giving access. Access to your money, access to your home, access to your name. And here's where reality matters. As a foreigner in the Philippines, you cannot own land outright. Property is often placed in someone else's name. Businesses can involve local partners, nominees, or shared control. Those are facts, not opinions. So when you trust the wrong person, you're not just making a bad emotional decision. You're making a structural one. One false allegation, one bad breakup, one wrong signature, and suddenly you're locked out. You're fighting uphill. You're realizing too late that your leverage is gone. That doesn't mean you can't trust anyone. It means you vet properly. Because even one night of bad judgment can cost you years of your life. And that's the part that nobody likes to talk about. People love the fantasy, the freedom, the lifestyle. But freedom without discipline turns into exposure. And I'm not talking about theory here. I'm talking about things I've seen with my own eyes. Good men, smart men, guys who thought it can't happen to me. Until it did. And here's where we separate a good life overseas from a disaster. Because the real danger isn't random. It's what happens after you get comfortable. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. The Philippines isn't uniquely dangerous. It's not some lawless place where chaos just falls out of the sky. What makes it dangerous for some Western men is how they move once they get here. Every country on earth has places you don't go. Every city has rules you follow if you want to stay safe. We already know this back home. You don't wander into certain neighborhoods in the U.S. You don't flash money in wrong places in Europe. You don't ignore warnings just because you feel comfortable. But something changes when men cross the ocean. They start thinking my passport protects them. They start thinking money gives them leverage. They start thinking nothing happened yet means nothing will. And that's where the danger actually lives. Not in random violence, not in headlines, not in isolated incidents. It lives in decisions. Where you go, who you listen to, which warnings you ignore. How much discipline you keep when things feel easy. Most Western men who run into trouble here don't wake up unlucky. They slowly walked into it, one realization at a time. The country rewards the men who move smart, and it punishes who assumes they're exempt. And once you understand that, the fear just disappears. But responsibility replaces it. When people hear move smart, they think it's some mindset thing. It's not. It's mechanics. Here's what moving smart actually looks like on the ground. You don't stay in places just because you arrive there. If the energy shifts, you leave. No debate, no pride, no finishing the drink. You don't let routines become predictable. Same time, same route, same place. That's how people get watched. You don't mix alcohol with decision making. Most bad situations don't start violent. They start sloppy. You don't argue, you don't escalate, you don't try to win conversations that don't matter. You don't involve yourself in other people's disputes. None of them. Not domestic, not business, not street drama. You don't make yourself look like the loudest foreigner in the room. Volume attracts attention. Attention attracts problems. You don't carry your entire life on your phone. You don't leave valuables exposed. You don't assume someone else is watching your back. And you don't stay when your instincts are screaming at you something's off. Because instincts are cheaper than consequences. That's it. No paranoia, no fear, just tight behavior. Most guys who get in trouble didn't ignore a big warning. They ignored 5 small ones. Staying safe isn't about danger. It's about decision quality. So here's the real truth. The Philippines isn't some lawless place where foreigners are just waiting to get hurt. Millions of people live here. Millions of foreigners visit here. And the vast majority never experience anything close to what scares people online. What gets men in trouble isn't the country. It's how they move inside it. The men who struggle here aren't unlucky. They're careless. They ignore the warnings. They blur boundaries. They trust too fast. They flex where they shouldn't. They stay when they should leave. They assume the rules don't apply anymore because the scenery changed. And that's how freedom gets taken, quietly. Not by some random act of violence, but by stacked decisions that slowly corner you. If you move smart, respect where you are, and understand that responsibility travels with you no matter where you go, the Philippines can be one of the most rewarding places in the world to live, visit, or build something new. But if you bring entitlement, ego, or laziness with you, this place won't save you from yourself. Your safety doesn't come from the country you're in. It comes from the man you are while you're there. This is Asia Uncovered, where the truth hits harder than the fantasy you came here chasing.